This conference will now be recorded.
Oh, means that's just better might die. Give it away. Yeah. The last 30 seconds takes forever. Yeah, I would just start now.
I got 6 o'clock. Call the meeting to order. Start the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I just need a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Second. Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Review the minutes from our October 3rd regular meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from October 3rd.
Second that.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Accounts payable, Sarah.
Not a very exciting month. I guess the only one to note is 80801, and that's our fire state aid pass-through. Otherwise, it's pretty minimal. Anyone have any questions?
I guess my only question, because I don't, Earl Anderson, Mike, is it for a sign? Is that for the brush sign that we put up by the VFW? 2 signs? Was that the one that's at the brush dump then? Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to approve the accounts payable in the amount of $62,582.42.
Any questions or concerns on the accounts payable? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Sarah. We'll open the public comment portion. Individuals may address the city council about any items of concern. Speakers must state their name and limit their remarks to 5 minutes. Steve, we'll start with Steve for a quick.
On the letter you sent me on August 29th, we have complied with everything on that letter, so you know. The damaged vehicles that were exposed to the public are now behind the privacy fence, okay? My silo and loader parts that aren't junk, in front of your eyes, you probably think they are, but they're not. I have moved them back there. The ones that I'm not gonna get at real quick, but the ones that I'm restoring to feed cattle with, have some of them out front. Not many, just a couple. And then all the cars that we owned, trucks mainly, that were unregistered because they all need repair. That's why some of those other vehicles are exposed there. They are now insured and registered. So everything on there that you had mentioned is now taken care of 100%. So you know. The other thing I'd mention, and you don't know this stuff because you're probably unaware of it, how many times in the past 2 years, maybe more than that, somebody, and I don't know who it is, I don't have time to mess with this stuff. I mean, it's trivial, but it's annoying. And they come across there behind the townhomes, and they come across the road, somebody, unless they stop on the road and do it, they take their sewing shears or whatever they got and they snip off those nice big zip locks that hold the privacy fence onto the chain link fence. And then it all drapes down. It looks terrible. And you know, we're busy. We ain't got time to play games. And so now you go out there and you got to put them back up again. And then in a few days, they cut them down again. And so now we have taken stainless steel clamps and put them all the way along the line. So sewing scissors can't cut that off. These are the things I have to deal with. You know, they complain to you about things. I don't know who's doing it, but it's right in that area and it's consistent. Now they're up, you know, and it stays up. And it looks a lot better when it's up. That's what it's supposed to be up, you know. So we have to contend with that kind of thing. And it's annoying, just so you know what I have to deal with too. Now, everything is taken care of, as you said in the letter. And if you have any other concerns, I'd appreciate you calling me. If you want to come through and talk about something, be upfront and talk to me upfront. I'd rather hear it from you straight up before I see it in the paper. Appreciate that. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Rita.
Yes, good evening. My name is Rita Morgan, and I'd like to address an issue of concern to the members of the Zumbrota Council. I have an aggressive brain cancer, but I tried to stay active to help my recovery. One of my objectives is to walk on my own. I've been walking on the covered bridge by holding on to the wooden rails, one hand, and the cane in the other. As part of my rehabilitation goal to gain movement in my left side of my body, which suffered a focal seizure. My issue is that the bikers riding these power bikes and the speeds they come flying through the bridge, it scares me and is a dangerous situation for walkers. Regular bikers don't do this. I'd like 3 questions answered. What are the rules of the path? How are those rules enforced? And are power-operated bikes allowed on the path? I talked to the police department and they said there's nothing they can do. So they told me to come to the city council.
For a couple of them or all of them?
Yeah,
And I handed out a paper to each of you.
Yeah, we got it here. Thank you.
And
I know,
there's one
so-
more issue, if I got a couple of seconds,
Yeah.
is the parking for handicapped people downtown. I come out on the passenger side and your handicap sign is on the passenger side on the sidewalk, but there's no place for me to come out by that handicap sign. I talked to the city about access to handicapped people. And they told me that in 7 years, they're gonna redo the downtown. I said, okay, by that time, I wouldn't be here. That's all. Thank you.
all right, I'll try and address the path first. So the rules in the path are no motorized vehicles. Basically, you can't have a motorized vehicle on there. In Minnesota, the definition of a motorized vehicle or a motor vehicle does not include e-bikes. So e-bikes are allowed on the path by virtue of they're not a motorized vehicle.
Well, they should almost have a license plate. They go like 35 miles an hour.
Yeah, they can get going.
I
pretty
talked to
fast.
another lady that was walking on the bike path, and she said one was coming toward her and one was coming behind her. She didn't know which way to get out of their way.
Yeah, no, I understand. I walk out there a lot too, and they do come zipping by, and most of them have the etiquette of letting you know that, hey, coming by on your left, they'll usually say. But registration, licensing, and insurance we can't do that for e-bikes either, per the state. So they follow the same rules as human-powered bikes. So we can't outlaw them, I don't think, unless council can make an executive decision on that if they wish. But as far as the state is concerned, they do not fit the definition of a motorized vehicle.
But I want to just step on that a minute, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kim would probably know, or with the motorized bike, but I think some trails, certain bikes, there's different levels of e-bikes, how fast they go. I think the Cannon Valley Trail doesn't allow e-bikes. And the only reason I asked that, my dad got an e-bike and he got a certain kind because it's illegal on bike paths and a certain kind is not. So my opinion, some of these e-bikes are getting pretty fast, which can scare the pedestrians. So I think that is something that we may have to look into, see what other trails are doing, because our trails do get used quite a bit, from walkers, from bikes, to strollers, to dogs, and e-bikes.
In the meantime, could we do like a, how fast they can drive? I mean.
I don't know if the
limits
bike, I don't know if they can tell on the bikes if they're going fast, if they're going 5 or they're going 15. Can you? Okay.
Yep. I just pulled up Cannon Valley Trail. Electric sister pedal assist bicycles are allowed on the Cannon Valley Trail. Or wherever normal bicycles are allowed if they meet the following definition in Minnesota statutes 169-001. 2 to 3 wheels, a saddle and fully operable pedals for human propulsion, an electric motor that is 1,000 watts or less, incapable of propelling faster than 20 miles per hour, incapable of further increasing the speed of the device when human power alone is used to propel the vehicle at a speed of more than 20 miles per hour, and disengages or ceases to function when the vehicle brakes are applied.
So in that definition, there must be bikes out there that are above that criteria, the watts. and
Probably
stuff.
not most of the ones we would see for most normal residents around here.
And it is fast because,
20 miles per
On-
hour on a bike is
on Main
fast, especially
Street,
if you're
Too
walking.
fast. That's too fast for in town
Yeah.
on this
Yeah,
trail.
'cause
I
on
mean, I
Main
can
Street,
see
the
for
car
theirs
goes
because they're going for miles and miles, but for this trail here.
So I think the best thing for us as council is maybe to look at it, look at what other trails are doing and figure something out. Like, I agree with Sarah that we're not going 20 miles from Cannon Falls to Regling or whatever it is.
Right.
It's more of a leisure walking path. So I think to address that, I think we should look into that. Maybe add that on a work session to see what's out there. And I don't know enough about these bikes.
The bridge.
I mean-
They're getting more and more popular.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something, I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think.
Okay.
In the bridge, we could enforce the sign that's literally above it from the ancient days.
Yeah.
No faster than a walk across the bridge.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna, and then it would also be an enforcement issue too.
And that's gonna
Do we
be-
have police officers out there? We don't have I don't know if we have a handheld that we can, it's a really tough thing to.
Is that I get fresh air and I get to watch the kids fishing
And you're getting exercise
and I get my exercise by taking roundabouts.
Yeah, the bridge, we can absolutely determine if someone is driving their e-bike faster than a walk across the bridge.
So to answer question number 2, how can those rules be enforced? That's gonna be a tough one with radars and stuff like that. It's gonna be,
Yeah.
but if we have signs up there and officers see it, I mean, they're still not gonna be able to tell if they're going 20 or 25, so.
Even if we had a sign on the bridge to say, highlight that instead of up on top, that might just be enough.
More official.
Yeah.
But more of a deterrent on the bridge itself.
And what are the rules on the path? Brian kind of explained that on that, so.
Clarify the path. I think she's just right in the park, not out on the actual.
No, she's walking the bridge using the railing when she's walking. That's where they're
Yeah.
going.
Down into the park and looks at kids fishing, she said.
I think she's just doing that from the bridge.
Well, but it's
Right.
all path.
Yeah, it's all path. I don't think she's walking on the grass. So it don't matter if she's on the bridge or if she's on the path 300 feet down.
To me, the path is Pioneer Trail. Pioneer Trail starts,
When you get way at the other end of the park.
right, she's
Yeah.
not at the other end of the park.
No, she's right here.
Where the kids play.
Yeah.
If they have soccer, or whatever, that's the park. not
Yeah.
the trail necessarily.
But we're talking about the trail right now, her speeding on the bike, or they're driving their bike.
The trail
on
and
the
the
trail.
Street, the street that goes down to the campground.
No, we're talking the path right there.
Just this path.
Yeah,
It's not
It is a path.
technically Pioneer Trail, but we call it the Park Trail.
So just to clarify, are you talking Pioneer Trail? She lives up the trail, that became called trail. for-
we're just trying to get that for guidelines, what they have for rules and regulations.
But we don't have a trail really in our park. I know we upgraded the asphalt.
That's considered a trail, covered bridge, bike path, walking path. I mean, depends on how you want to classify it.
I only use the bridge. I have to use the rail.
Yeah.
Yep, and that one, I think it's reasonable that we could enforce something there. We could help, if we see someone cruising across there fast, we can definitely do something about that. The rest of the trail system.
I don't do anything on the path. I can't walk.
Yeah, you walk on the
They should be
covered.
walking their bikes across there.
I mean, we could almost put signs up there too. So. I just think we'll add it to the work session to just talk about what we want to do and then what we want to do with a signage just for crossing the bridge. I mean, we could even make them get off and walk their bikes across the covered bridge. Again, how you gonna enforce it, but
But
at least the
They
sign's
can
there,
then.
yeah.
Yeah.
They can then, so.
thank you for
Perfect.
bringing this to
Yeah,
us.
thanks, Rita.
Very much.
And I'd still like to address the parking. I have spoken to Rita a couple of times about the parking on
The
Main
handicap.
Street and the handicap. So the way handicap parking works, obviously, it's always on the side of the road. You know, you park on the right side. The passenger side is on the sidewalk side. Well, we have a curb there. It's not a very big curb right now because they overlaid Main Street, but there's still a curb there. So she has some difficulty getting out of the car and onto the curb. I've explained that we can't not have a curb there because if we lower the sidewalk, then we have an issue getting into the buildings. And if we slope part of the sidewalk, so I don't know how we would address that. You know, there was I know we used to slide my grandpa out on a kind of a slide thing over to the sidewalk, and then go from there. That's how we handled it when we took grandpa down to Bridget's and other places down on Main Street. But yes, we've talked on multiple occasions, and I really don't have a good answer on how we can have a zero height sidewalk to get out on the passenger side of a vehicle. I don't know how to address that. I apologize for that, but there's just not a good way that I can see.
Upgrade at the end, so bikes can go, there's no curb for bikes to go sidewalk to sidewalk. What?
I mean, we can look at whatever.
Dropping somebody off on the corner where you've got the smooth onto the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
Put your emergency lights on or.
right. I mean, we can talk about whatever, but I really don't have a good way of
addressing it.
addressing it because you can't really cut a curb out. You know, plus it's, you know, maybe Kevin, do you have any comments on the state highway if we cut the curbs out, or is that not a highway thing? That's more of a.
That's outside of my wheelhouse for that one.
Yeah. Well, plus you have to carry water too when it rains, and that's what the curb does. So I haven't come up with a good answer. I apologize, but yeah.
And
Well,
then-
we can keep, we can, go ahead.
Do we know what other communities, do a lot of our towns our size have curbs on their main street? Most do.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't, I've looked too to see if there's anything, other than a flat spot.
Maybe MinDOT has a suggestion.
No, yeah, I can see if they've if the engineers have any, because we've been talking to the engineers now about
mean, we
the
got
future
engineers.
reconstruction.
Does Scott have any ideas what we could do on the side?
Oh, yeah,
We have
we got
one
the
of-
engineer here. Think
Other
about
than
that.
me
So-
making my own sign up and putting up, I'm walking, don't ride your powered bikes fast.
Oh, yeah, we can handle that. The curbs.
Yeah, so kind of two things that come to mind is you do have limited parking on the highway itself. So having a special handicap stall on the highway there is going to be difficult. But what I have seen in other communities is along one of the side streets, you might have a dedicated handicap stall that's double wide that allows for van loading and unloading. And that could be potentially something you do. The problem with downtown Zumbrota is the side streets are so steep that that's going to be difficult to get a landing area for you to be able to do that. But so that's my thought.
Perfect. Thanks, Scott. So, I mean, we'll look into it on the parking stuff. And I know, like you said, they're talking about redoing that. So that's something that we can start throwing that out there to them. So. Any more public comment portion? We'll close the public comment portion and we'll jump down to unfinished business, budget. Kimberly.
Just keeping it on the agenda. We had that discussion last night. We'll be updating with some of the things we discussed about some of the changes in the healthcare costs and possible changes in some other line items that will be ready for you at the next meeting.
Perfect. Any questions on budget? Perfect. We'll jump to 8A, new business. Clyde Hendricks minor subdivision. Brian.
Yes, so you've got the memo from Kurt, and of course Matt's not here either to help me explain, but really all this is Clyde Hendricks is splitting off his house from the rest of the land that he owns off of Fifth Street and Jefferson. Several citizens attended the public hearing, but none of them had any issues with Mr. Hendricks splitting his house from the remainder of the land. They were more interested in what's going to happen with the land moving forward. Well, there's no plans for the land at this point. I think he had it for sale at different points. I think he even took the sale sign down now. So we're not sure what he's going to do with that, but it was just a minor subdivision to take the house and remove it from that rest of that land. So recommend approval of, or concurrence with the planning commission and approval of the minor subdivision.
I'll make a motion to approve that minor subdivision.
Second.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Brian. Preliminary plat for the Berg Homestead Development. Scott, we're going to have you take care of this one.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I believe that you have a memo from Kurt in your packet there. We're here just to answer any questions about the preliminary plat. With me tonight is Tammy and John Champa. We're proposing to do a 7-lot subdivision up on East 9th Street. It's in the same area where the road construction is going right now. Those lots will be residential, single-family homes, 85-foot wide, 140-foot deep, just over a quarter-acre lots up there. And we're really just here to answer any questions that you may have about it. I'll add that it did go through planning and zoning. We've been to 2 meetings and they're recommending approval of the plat.
One question on the front yard setback. I think it's set to 20 feet instead of 30. Any issues with that?
No, that was the, due to the nature of the hill up there, just the terrain that we were dealing with, R1 residential varies between 12 and 30 foot as long as it doesn't go out front of the adjacent property. So we're proposing a 20-foot setback, and then all the houses up there will have a 20-foot setback. So that way they're all uniform through there.
And that's the reason for the PUD overlay in the Kurt's comments there for the 20 feet.
looking for a motion to approve.
Sure.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Scott. And the Chappas. Thank you. Let's do 8C, Resolution 2024-33, John Schuman, approval of the CUP. Brian?
Yes, you've got a resolution here for John Schuman. Mr. Schuman is in attendance tonight as well. What we're asking to do is amend the CUP that we had with John, which reflected the requirement of only 2 accessory structures. We have since changed our ordinance to allow more than 2 on certain properties if they're bigger. And so we want to amend the CUP to reflect allowance of 3 accessory structures, and also extending a deadline for removing those accessory structures to December 31st, 2026.
Does anybody have any questions on that? I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any further discussions? We'll do roll call. Sarah?
Aye.
B.O.B.?
Aye.
Joan?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
And I. Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Brian. 8D, City Attorney requests for proposals. Brian?
Yeah, current city attorney Matt Rockney will be stepping down as soon as we can hire a new city attorney. He's just so busy with everything he's got going on. He lost a vital staff member. And so he wants to cut back a little bit, spend some time with his family before the kids are all grown up. So we put together a request for proposals. I did work a little bit with Matt on it to make sure I've got the correct things in there as far as services that we would request. And you've had a chance to review it. Basically the same duties, the same things that Matt has helped us out with. I did keep in there that chair of the planning commission and some things like that. Other than that, I don't think we added anything out of the ordinary in there. But I'd like to get that out and get that moving. Got some somewhat aggressive dates on there. We'd love to have a recommendation to the council at the November 21st council meeting, ready to move forward at that time. I know I know the city attorneys that all of the surrounding communities use, so we'll make sure we make sure they get a copy of the RFP as well. So yeah, just wanted like to get that out, the approval to get the RFP out and get the ball rolling on a new city attorney.
Okay, I have a question, Brian. So are we looking for like an individual attorney, or is it like a group?
Well, it could be an individual, but more than likely a company. Yep.
A firm that
yeah,
would send
Yep, that we would have,
someone out
someone would be the
or assigned to us?
assigned
Just like
attorney.
What are they called? Engineers, geez, couldn't think of the word.
Okay.
Just like an engineering firm, it'll be a law firm
Law
that,
firm that would-
yeah.
So my only question on this is, does the attorney have to be the chair of the planning and zoning?
Well, Kim and I kind of talked about that a little bit too. We would like that because it's so technical and the opinions, of the attorney are always needed. We would at least want the attorney to be there at those
Yeah.
meetings, be available. So, if we get questions from firms, law firms about that, we can work with maybe not.
Especially since that's it's
Yeah.
a volunteer thing, it's, I really think that's important.
But it wouldn't be for the attorney, right? That would be something that we as a city would be requesting that they would be there, or is it volunteer for them to come?
Oh, no, they
No.
would, that
That would be something.
There's
that
certain
part of their-
meetings,
their
yeah,
task,
there's-
correct?
there's meetings itemized in there, council meeting,
It'd be-
planning
oh, it'd be
commission and other.
Just because if we have questions that we ask our city attorney, that's why Matt's
Always here, yeah.
And that, with the planning and zoning, is very important too, because it can be a lot of law stuff, so.
Yeah, and it's gonna be substantially more expensive. Matt treated us pretty well over the
I was
years,
gonna
and
say,
he
it'd be a lot
he
more
didn't hardly
expensive.
charge anything. But we're gonna have a lot more resources as well, to draw from. So, it'll be a good thing. Well, not, we hate to lose Matt.
Oh, right.
Don't make it sound like that, but he's been wonderful for a lot of years. I think 1997 is what Matt said when he started, so it's been a long time. I think was it his dad before that?
Yeah.
So he's been at Rockmead as a city attorney here for, oh yeah,
Wow.
for almost forever.
I'll make a motion to approve the request for proposals for the new city attorney.
I'll second that.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Thanks, Brian. Wage study. Brian.
Yes, we're coming up on 5 years since the last wage study. A lot of things have changed. Big changes in policing and those salaries. And it's recommended to do a wage study every 3 years or so, or even sooner, depending on economic circumstances. And then we've got negotiations coming up next year for new contracts for our unions in 2026, and the request was there to look at doing a new wage study. Now, our last wage study was done by David Brown Associates, DDA, and they did the whole new matrix, the whole new compensation classification system and everything. So we don't feel that we need to do all of that again, but we do need to update the salaries and compensation within the matrix. Being we worked with David Brown before, they're willing to let us into the maintenance program, in which they will review 1/3 of our positions every year. It's cost $4,200 per year, but they review 1/3 of the positions every year. We need more than that now because we'd like to have them all studied before negotiations start in 2025. So they're willing to do half of if we were to go with the maintenance plan in 2024, we'll look at half of our positions in 2024, and then in the spring of 2025, they'll look at the other half. So we will have all of our positions looked at and reclassified if need be, before negotiations start, which is a good tool to have going into negotiations. And it's, it's fair to everybody. We want to keep our staff where they need to be within market. We don't want to lose anybody. We've got great, wonderful staff. So I'm recommending entering into the maintenance plan, which is a yearly cost with David Brown Associates, starting right after the meeting. If council was wishing to approve that. Otherwise, there's some other options in there that we could do a full wage study again. But I just really think that this makes the most sense. There's some other benefits to that too. They will, they maintain and submit our equity reporting every 3 years, which is something that Kim and I did, well, mostly Kim, this last time. And it's some work, but to maintain it year by year is a good thing too, and be able to see any inequities that might be happening. They'll write new job descriptions and classify the positions for placement on our compensation system. Previously, we've done a couple of job descriptions since I've been here, maybe 3, and we pay extra for those to have them slotted. But that would be rolled into this $4,200. And they also handle data input of the wage data into the annual League of Minnesota Cities salary study, which is a good tool as well, because that gives us an opportunity to look at everything from benefits to salaries throughout the state. So I think it's a way to go. It was developed by a previous city administrator from a small community who needed better tools for this type of wage studies. So yeah, I think I would recommend it, but up to the council.
Motion. And I'll just say that in light of our continually fluctuating economy, I think this maintenance plan will help aid in just continual review of being able to, like Brian said, retain the current help we have, draw in new help at desired positions, and keep it fair and equal across the board. So
And it'll also keep us up, what do they call that we had to do with Miranda?
Equity.
Equity, so that will keep us a lot current with that versus what we got stuck with increasing her wage just for the equity part. What was that, 3 years ago?
Well, no, I think that was, that happened before. I don't think
Okay.
our equity was in line this last year, or this last time we did it. But just to explain, the equity is basically there to make sure that the male and female employees are paid equitably. So if a male in a position is paid substantially more than a female, they want to make sure that's not happening. They want to make sure, the background on that. And that's a very simplistic way of explaining that, Jim. If you've got any more on that, go ahead. But
We had a motion. Do we have a second?
yes.
Bob? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Brian. Let's do 8F speed limit school signs. Mike?
The speed limit school signs were part of the developers agreement with Christ Lutheran, but we still have to have staff approval because they're regulatory signs, so.
I'll make a motion for the approval of 2 new speed limit school signs.
Any further discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thank you, Mike. Let's jump to reports. Brian?
yes, so Mayor Hamel reported at the October 3rd council meeting that the city of Zumbrota received the workforce housing grant in the amount of $2,816,000. We're excited to work with Keller Bartman on their second apartment building in Zumbrota. The proposed site will be the corner where the old Bank of Zumbrota, Franson Bank parcel is. I guess that's the corner of 3rd Street and West Avenue. It'll have 11 studio, 15 2-bedroom, and 12 3-bedroom apartments. Working with Andy and Bob from Keller Bartman, as well as a whole team of city staff and consultants on details of the building and moving forward. And so there's a whole lot of work to be done yet, but we wanted to make sure that everybody is aware that we did receive the workforce housing grant. Got an official press release prepared to send to the paper. Hopefully that'll be in the next week's paper. Pool fundraising next week. I'm going to deliver some magnets to the businesses around town next week. We had some more magnets made with our little QR code on there for, which takes you to the donation page to contribute to the pool. So we'll put some of those on all the checkout counters. So when people are paying for their merchandise, they can grab one of those, and if they wish to help us out, that'd be wonderful. The VFW is hosting its annual Donnie Frank Day fundraiser. They're going to be selling 400 tickets at $50 each, and they're going to give back half of the money in prizes, and the other half of the money goes to the pool effort. So we're grateful for them for doing that, and they're also letting us use the big banquet room at the VFW on November 30th. We'll probably do a silent auction in there, maybe have a dinner in there. We're not quite sure exactly what all will be going on there, but the VFW will also hold meat raffles, horse races, and other things like that. So it should be a big day. Great thing for the pool. So we're just grateful for the VFW to do their fundraiser for the pool effort this year. I submitted paperwork to FEMA outlining our costs for cleaning up after the June 21st flooding in the park. That was a bigger flood. We flooded twice in 2 weeks there, but the bigger one resulted in a disaster declaration, which allowed us to apply for some reimbursement of the costs that we incurred cleaning up. We're a little over $8,000 is what was submitted, so we'll see. Hopefully we'll get all of that, some of that. Anything would help, because it's a lot of work, and Mike and the Public Works guys spent a lot of hours out there cleaning things up, and beforehand too, moving things out of the way. It's a good thing we've got the flood monitor downstream. And there is a possibility with the new camp bathhouse, there's a possibility of some mitigation money for that since we're moving it out of the floodplain. I'm not sure yet, though. There's some nuances in the application that may not fit. As far as I think it needs to be in our all hazard mitigation plan that we have with the county. And I'm not sure that it was in there, but we'll work on that too. So, maybe there'll be some dollars for that as well. That's it.
Perfect. Thanks, Brian. James?
Thanks, Mayor. Just want to let you know, the library will be closed on Monday, October 21st, rather than a sidewalk redone and replaced. So, closed hopefully just that day, on Sunday. So, just want to let you know that that's going on, and say thanks to Mike for coordinating that project.
Perfect. Thanks, James. Kim? Mike? Thank you. I have nothing. Sarah?
I just wanted to give a shout out to Matt for all his work over the years and, countless hours and always available to answer a question, and he'll be missed.
Bob?
Nothing tonight.
Joan?
Nothing tonight?
Kevin?
Nothing.
Meeting adjourned.